Celebrities behaving badly is nothing new, but absolutely no one saw the slap coming from one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Behind the scenes, there are scandals that have rocked the entertainment industry and left us all in shock. From suicides to sex scandals, here are the biggest celebrity scandals that were hidden by Hollywood. George Reeves. Superman dies in supposed suicide. George Reeves died on June 16, 1959, from a gunshot wound. He was best known for playing Superman on the 1950s TV show Adventures of Superman. Even though most people think he killed himself, some think he was killed. At the time, many actors in Hollywood didn't believe that he had killed himself. Instead, they thought he was murdered. In their book Hollywood Kryptonite, Sam Kashner and Nancy Schonberger wrote that they thought Tony Mannix, who was having an affair with Reeves and was married to Eddie Mannix, a known fixer and vice president of MGM, was involved in some way. Eddie Mannix was said to have had links to the mafia, so it is possible that he was involved. Tony had told a priest that she was the one who did it, but her testimony can't be trusted because she had Alzheimer's disease, so it's impossible to know if what she said was true. Fatty Arbuckle. During the time of silent films, Fatty Arbuckle was a well-known celebrity. He was later involved in one of the first major scandals to rock Hollywood. At the pinnacle of his success, he was arrested and sentenced to prison for the murder of Virginia Rapay. It was reported by Rapay's companion that late one evening she was discovered sick in the bathroom of Arbuckle's hotel and needed to be taken to the hospital. Her companion was under the impression that Arbuckle had sexually assaulted Rapay, which led to her bladder being ruptured as a result of the assault. An autopsy revealed that there was no indication that an assault had taken place, and his legal team supplied evidence that showed Rapay had a chronic bladder condition. Nonetheless, he was arrested and charged with manslaughter. Arbuckle was unable to find work as an actor after the incident, despite the fact that he was ultimately acquitted of the charges brought against him. Natalie Wood's death. Let me start by saying that there are a lot of things we don't know about this case. It has been said that her death was a cover-up, but nothing has ever been proven. It is said that Natalie Wood, a person who had a lifelong phobia of water and who was unable to swim, went on a weekend boat trip to Catalina Island with her husband Robert Wagner and fellow actor Christopher Walken, in addition to the captain of the ship, Dennis Daver. 1 mile from the boat, her body was found. The autopsy showed that she had scratches on her left cheek and bruises on her body and arms, but no one knows where they came from. It is said that Wood and Wagner had a fight that night, which Wagner admits in his memoir. Authorities say that she may have been hurt before she drowned, but it's also possible that she just simply tripped. As things stand now, it has been decided that Natalie drowned by accident. Some people think that some very powerful individuals, like Ronald Reagan, covered up for Wagner. No matter what happened that night, we know for sure that Natalie Wood drowned and died, and that a great talent was lost. Celebrity abortion protocols. I want to start by saying that this will be hard to understand for anyone who has had a pregnancy end or a child die. Please be careful as you listen on. No one can deny that old Hollywood had too much power over their actors and actresses. Many of them couldn't even get married. But because these women were seen as assets and not people, if a studio found out that an actress was pregnant, they would often force her to have an abortion. Studios would lie about why the actress had left and make them go back to work soon afterward. Yeah, it's pretty gross stuff. I don't really feel like I have the right to say how hard that must have been for the actresses, but my heart goes out to anyone who has ever had to deal with something like that. I can't even start to imagine how awful that must be. Judy Garland's entire career. The poor woman. So again, it's no secret that old Hollywood was a really awful place to be, especially if you were an actress. And Judy Garland seems to have gone through more than any woman should ever have had to go through. Garland was famously overworked, so the studios gave her amphetamines and barbiturates, as well as adrenaline shots and pills, so that she could stay awake and work longer hours. And MGM's head, Louis B. Mayer, made her sit on his lap and groped her while giving her compliments. Due to an accidental overdose of barbiturates, Garland was taken from this world far too soon at the age of 47. Alfred Hitchcock was a stalker. Tippi Hedren, who was in Alfred Hitchcock's movies The Birds and Marnie, says that during the time they worked together, famous director Alfred Hitchcock followed, bothered, and sexually assaulted her. It is said that Hitchcock was possessive of Hedren and told the other actors not to touch her. It was also said that if he saw her talking to another man, he would look at her with an unbreakable stare. He even had her handwriting looked at and asked his helpers to make sure she wasn't seeing anyone else. It is said that Hitchcock would have his driver drive by her house, and that at one time he went into her dressing room and aggressively touched her. This fact about Hitchcock has been notably left out of discussions about him until recent years, when victims came forward with claims that he did inappropriate things. Because of these claims, many people will now avoid any of Hitchcock's movies. Woody Allen child sexual abuse. This is a big one, and it happened not too long ago. For the benefit of those who aren't aware, Woody Allen is a director who has received widespread recognition. But he is also known for engaging in a number of relationships that are considered to be inappropriate, most famously marrying his ex-wife's adopted daughter. In 1992, he was accused of sexually molesting Dylan Farrow, his adopted daughter, when she was only 7 years old. Even though there are many claims in that case, we know for sure that Allen had already been to therapy for how he treated Dylan. He didn't want to take a polygraph test about what had happened. The judge thought his behavior was wrong and that Dylan needed protection. 3 other adults who were there at the time of the incident backed Dylan's claims. Jimmy Savile. This one is a big disappointment. So, Jimmy Savile, who was well known for his UK show Jim Will Fix It, in which he let children have their wishes come true, died in 2011. Many people in the UK, including Ricky Gervais, have written about the show. A year later, ITV showed a documentary that looked into the claims of sexual abuse against Savile over the years. What they found was shocking. The League's General Infirmary and Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital found that he had sexually assaulted staff and patients between the ages of 5 and 75 over many years. A report by the NSPCC and the Metropolitan Police said that 450 people, ranging in age from 8 to 47 at the time of the assault, filed complaints against Savile. Of these, 28 were children under the age of 10. Yeah, that's a pretty good example of why you should never meet your heroes. Loretta Young adopts her own child. So, as we've talked about, the old Hollywood system tried to force women to have abortions so that they could be used as assets for as long as possible. For Loretta Young, however, such a move was completely out of the question. After an affair with Clark Gable, Loretta Young discovered that she was expecting his kid. It was a relationship she later called, quote, date rape. After finishing production on the movie The Call of the Wild in 1935, Young returned from a break in her acting career with an adopted daughter. The fact of the matter is that the child was indeed her own, but she lied about her parentage. It was kind of sad. Old Hollywood, we will definitely not miss that aspect of you. Kylie Jenner's pregnancy. So, nothing too outlandish here. Prior to giving birth, Kylie Jenner took steps to hide her pregnancy from the media. There were plenty of sources who leaked information, but for the most part, she maintained some degree of privacy and safely gave birth to her daughter, Stormi, in 2018. The simple reason for the cover-up was she simply wanted to prepare privately and do this outside the public eye. And given how public a figure she is, you can't blame her for wanting a little bit of privacy. George Raft. George Raft was a stylish leading man who played roles in a lot of gangster and mafia-themed movies. He always played the tough guy, the convict, or the rough mobster. Even though his real-life ties to the mafia made casting directors lean in this direction, George said that he never thought of himself as an actor. He said, quote, "I wanted to be me, but you can't let that kind of information get out to the public. It'll destroy the prestige of Hollywood." So instead, they hid his mafia background and kept putting him in roles that didn't fit that persona. As much as Hollywood tried to hide it, the mob didn't care. In fact, it was Bugsy Siegel, a well-known mobster with movie connections, who helped George get into Hollywood in the first place. Even during filming the 1932 production of Scarface, people like Al Capone continued coming up on set. Reportedly, it was Capone demonstrating to the director how to fire a Tommy gun while filming that really started to bring attention to what was going on behind the scenes. Marilyn Monroe. We could probably make a whole video just about Marilyn, but we don't have enough time. Her real name was Norma Jean Mortensen, but she became a pop culture icon who, for most people, set the standard for beauty as she got older. She was married 3 times, but after the 3rd divorce, things got really hard for her. Since this was a long time before TMZ, any drama in Marilyn Monroe's life was kept secret. After her divorce, she was brought to Hollywood parties to entertain the executives. People like Marlon Brando and Frank Sinatra were said to have dated her for a short time. Oh, and let's not forget that she had an affair with John F. Kennedy while he was president. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but Monroe was found dead in her home 3 months after that affair. This is something to look into. Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski takes pictures with a young woman at Jack Nicholson's house on March 10, 1977. When Jack's girlfriend at the time, Angelica Houston, came home, she found the director's jacket and some cameras. Polanski and the young woman came around the corner a short time later. Roman introduced this girl to Angelica and said they were taking pictures. The victim, Samantha Gamer, would later say that Roman gave her champagne and then forced her to have sex with him when she was only 13 years old. People thought Polanski was so good at making movies that they were willing to ignore his bad habits just to stay on his good side and be in his movies. But his victim told the police about the scandal when she told them what had just happened to her. Roman said he wasn't guilty and then left the country right away. Even after 26 years, there is still an active warrant out for his arrest, so he could not accept an Oscar for his movie The Pianist. On May 3, 2018, the Academy decided to kick Polanski out because they finally saw what a creep he was. Charlie Chaplin. Now, I can see that name might make you think, no, not Charlie Chaplin, what did he do? But Chaplin was right in the middle of a scandal, even though he was only a small part of it. William Randolph Hearst was a bad politician, businessman, and newspaper owner. Hearst thought that Charlie Chaplin and Marion Davies, who was his mistress, were having an affair. But instead of just talking to Charlie, he asked him and a number of other important people in the film industry to join him on his yacht. Thomas Ince was one of them. Thomas was a producer in Hollywood who needed more money to keep his studio going. Now, you need to know that at this time, the newspaper was really the only way people got news, and William was in charge of it. So, when Hollywood producer Thomas Ince was shot, the story was just buried. Hearst was trying to shoot Charlie Chaplin on the yacht, but he missed and killed Thomas Ince instead. The scandal was revealed when the LA Times ran the headline, "Movie Producer Shot on Hearst Yacht." Jeffrey Tambor. Jeffrey Tambor had been an actor for almost 40 years when the Me Too movement started. This put an end to his career in a hurry. At the time, he was at the top of his game. He was supposed to be in the show Transparent and help bring Arrested Development back. Slowly but surely, though, women started coming forward. All of them said that Tambor had made rude sexual comments to them, and their stories were eerily similar. One of his accusers even said that Tambor had been watching her sleep, and his ex-assistant on the show Transparent eventually broke her silence and talked about what had really happened on the set. Because of what she said, he was kicked off the show. Adam Levine apologizes for crossing the line with other women. An Instagram model said that the lead singer of the band Maroon 5 cheated on his pregnant wife, Behati Prinsloo, who was carrying their third child. After she released alleged damaging messages, more women came forward and claimed Levine sent them explicit notes. One of the women said that Levine asked her if he could name his unborn child after her. In a statement, the singer denied having any physical affairs, but he did say that he had, quote, poor judgment when he talked flirtatiously with anyone other than his wife. The Victoria's Secret model stood by her husband through the scandal and never said anything about it in public. Johnny Depp wins defamation lawsuit against Amber Heard. A jury decided that when Heard wrote an opinion piece for the Washington Post in 2018, she lied about her ex-husband. Even though she never said Depp's name, the Aquaman star said she had been hurt physically and sexually. Heard had accused Depp of abuse in public 2 years before, so it was clear that she was talking about him. During the 6-week trial, Kate Moss even testified in favor of her ex-boyfriend. Each star took the stand and said that the other had hurt them physically and mentally. Depp won all 3 of his defamation lawsuits and was awarded more than $10 million. Even though Heard won one of her counterclaims, most people thought the verdict was a big win for Depp. After appealing the verdict at first, Heard made a shocking announcement a few weeks later that she had reached a deal with Depp. The actress said that the settlement, quote, is not a sign of giving up, and that, quote, there are no limits or gags on my voice in the future. Depp said that he will give the $1 million settlement to a good cause. Kanye West won't retract anti-Semitic comments. West, now Ye, is not new to controversy. This year was different if he still has admirers. Yeezy models wore White Lives Matter shirts at Paris Fashion Week. Ye made multiple anti-Semitic statements while doubling down. The repercussions closed his private Los Angeles school, Donda Academy. Ye was banned from social media, but he kept posting hateful comments. Balenciaga, Gap, and others abandoned him, and Adidas terminated relations and cost him his billionaire status by ending their Yeezy collaboration. Ye claims he lost $2 billion in one day and is now an industry outcast. Will Smith slaps Chris Rock at the Oscars. It was supposed to be Will Smith's night, and it was, but not for the reason the King Richard star had hoped. Just before the superstar won his first Oscar for Best Actor, he shocked everyone by storming the stage and slapping Chris Rock in the face. Rock had made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's hair, and Will Smith felt the need to defend his wife. Jada has alopecia, a condition that makes her lose her hair. Will didn't apologize to the comedian in public until the next day, and he pretty much disappeared for months. The Academy banned the actor for 10 years from all official events, such as the Oscars. Even though Smith has said he is sorry many times, it doesn't look like he and Rock have made up. Let's be real. Celebrities always seem to be getting involved in scandalous situations that make them the #1 topic of conversation in the news cycle. While there's always something to talk about when it comes to the Hollywood scene, some of these dramas are definitely bigger than others, including the scandals we talked about in this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.